She sneered, lifting her heel, and with one crushing stomp, glass shattered, wires, lights, and months of work scattered across the pavement. "Not in my neighborhood," she spat, as if his dream didn't matter. He was just a teenager, quiet, focused, carrying the weight of hope in his small hands. She was the face of authority, loud, entitled, untouchable. But what she didn't know was that the project she tried to destroy would soon light up the world. In just minutes, the tables would turn. Forever. Have you ever been underestimated by someone who thought they could break you? Tell us in the comments. Before we begin, hit subscribe. It's appreciated. It was supposed to be the biggest week of Marcus's young life. At just 16 years old, he had poured every spare hour into building something remarkable. A homemade science project powered by solar energy designed to help low-income families cut electricity costs. In his small garage with scraps of metal, recycled wires, and a notebook filled with calculations, he worked late into the night. To him, this wasn't just a school project. It was his way of proving that he belonged in a world that often dismissed boys who looked like him. Marcus lived with his mom in a modest neighborhood where every penny mattered. She worked double shifts at the hospital while he balanced school, part-time work, and his passion for invention. Despite the challenges, Marcus carried himself with quiet determination. He dreamed of scholarships, of college, of building a better life not only for himself but for his community. Science was more than numbers and circuits. It was hope. The upcoming regional science fair was his chance. A stage filled with judges, cameras, and opportunities that could change his future forever. Marcus knew the odds weren't in his favor, but he believed in his project. He believed that if people just saw it, they would see him too. But there was someone who didn't want him to shine. A woman who had made herself the self-proclaimed guardian of the neighborhood, policing everything from lawn decorations to trash bins. To her, Marcus was just another kid who didn't fit in. She watched him carry his project outside with narrowed eyes, already deciding he didn't belong at the event. Marcus couldn't know it yet, but what she was about to do would test not just his invention, but his spirit. If you were Marcus, and someone tried to crush your dream before the world even saw it, what would you do? The morning of the science fair began with excitement buzzing through the school gym. Students carefully arranged their projects on tables, each one hoping to impress the judges and secure a scholarship. Marcus carried his solar-powered generator, steady and composed, despite the weight of anticipation pressing on his shoulders. He had triple-checked every connection, polished every wire, and rehearsed his explanation until it felt second nature. To him, this was more than competition. It was proof that his hard work, creativity, and perseverance could break through the invisible barriers that society had already set for him. But before he could set up, she appeared. Mrs. Whitmore, the self-appointed HOA enforcer, stepped into the gym doorway with a sharp glare. Her eyes swept across the room until they landed on Marcus. "That thing doesn't belong here," she snapped, her voice carrying over the chatter of students. "Take it outside or I'll make sure it never sees the light of day." Marcus froze, clutching his project. The other students whispered, some in disbelief, others trying to stifle nervous laughter. This wasn't just a confrontation. It was a public humiliation, a reminder that no matter how hard he worked, some people would see him as less than. The fair organizers hesitated, unsure if they could stand up to her, leaving Marcus with a choice he never wanted to make: leave, argue, or somehow prove them all wrong. He chose action. With careful hands, he rearranged his project outside under the weak morning sun, every nerve on edge as he plugged in the generator. Neighbors watched from their windows, curious, suspicious, some smirking. Mrs. Whitmore lingered, arms crossed, clearly expecting failure. And then it happened. The lights on his generator flickered to life. Slowly, steadily, the small system began producing energy, powering a cluster of lamps and small devices in a demonstration no one expected. The crowd grew. First, a few students leaned closer, then teachers, then parents, drawn by the hum of electricity and the brilliance of Marcus's idea. Whispers turned into murmurs of awe as they realized the potential impact: clean, accessible energy for families who couldn't afford soaring utility bills. Marcus's heart pounded, equal parts fear and triumph. The same woman who had stomped on his dream moments ago now watched in stunned silence as the project she tried to destroy drew admiration from everyone around. But Mrs. Whitmore wasn't done. She stormed forward, trying to pull the cords, insisting he stop, threatening to call the school administration. Marcus held his ground, every inch of his confidence and pride steeling him against her authority. Phones came out. Teachers stepped in. Neighbors whispered. The unfairness of the moment only magnified the tension. Would she succeed in silencing him, or would the brilliance of his work speak louder than her arrogance? With every passing second, the crowd's attention shifted from her to him. It was more than science now. It was a battle of respect, recognition, and the power to rise above discrimination. Marcus knew he couldn't let fear dictate his actions. If he faltered, months of work, hope, and a chance to break the cycle of being underestimated could vanish in an instant. And as the judges finally approached, nodding and taking notes, Mrs. Whitmore stepped back, realizing that her control over this moment was slipping away. The tension reached a boiling point. Would Marcus's work earn the recognition it deserved, or would one woman's prejudice attempt to snatch it away at the last second? The room went silent as the judges gathered around Marcus's setup, their eyes scanning every wire, every component. Mrs. Whitmore hovered nearby, lips pressed tight, exuding a mixture of disbelief and irritation. Marcus's hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from the intensity of the moment. This was it, the moment that would decide if months of sleepless nights, meticulous calculations, and unyielding determination would finally be recognized or erased by prejudice. He activated the generator one last time. Lights blazed, small fans spun, and a miniature home model illuminated with clean, solar-powered energy. The judges exchanged impressed glances, murmurs growing into words of admiration. Marcus explained his project, clearly and confidently, outlining how it could provide low-cost energy for families in need. Each sentence carried not just technical knowledge, but the weight of his struggle, the story of a boy who refused to be dismissed. Mrs. Whitmore scoffed, attempting one final interruption. "This isn't practical," she insisted, stepping forward as if her authority alone could invalidate months of work. But the crowd had shifted. Students, parents, and even teachers now stood firmly beside Marcus, phones recording, eyes wide with astonishment. Every challenge she threw was met with evidence, logic, and undeniable brilliance. Her power, once looming, was collapsing under the weight of truth. Then came the announcement. And the first-place winner of the regional science fair is Marcus Thompson. A collective gasp filled the gym. The crowd erupted in applause, cheers, and whistles. Marcus's chest swelled with pride, relief, and vindication. In that moment, the injustice he had endured became a backdrop to an overwhelming triumph. The project that had been stomped, dismissed, and almost destroyed had not only survived, but had shone brighter than anyone could have imagined. Mrs. Whitmore's face turned red with fury and humiliation. She had tried to crush a dream based on prejudice, only to witness its undeniable success. Marcus smiled quietly, absorbing the applause, knowing that his victory was more than a trophy. It was a statement, a refusal to be underestimated, a message to anyone who doubted him because of who he was. As cameras flashed, Marcus realized this wasn't just about winning a science fair, it was about resilience, justice, and belief. His victory wasn't only a medal, it was proof that talent shines brighter than prejudice. The community saw what others had tried to silence, and Marcus's story spread, a symbol of what happens when you refuse to let discrimination define you. Scholarships, mentors, and opportunities followed, but the real lesson was clear: brilliance grows stronger when tested. So we ask, how many more dreams must be dismissed before the world learns to see potential, not prejudice? Show some love with a like and subscribe to stay inspired.